Hey everyone, hope you're well. Now then, how to play the fantastic instrumental Raise My Rent from David Gilmour, stemming from his first solo album simply entitled David Gilmour, released in 1978, I believe. Now, I call Raise My Rent an instrumental, however, it's just basically a long-ass 5-minute long guitar solo. Fantastic stuff from Gilmour nonetheless. Now, I did a part 1 of this tutorial about a year ago, but I procrastinated on getting part 2 finished. And then I forgot how to play it for the most part and never got back to finishing the complete tutorial. So I pulled part 1 off of YouTube until I did just that. It took a while, but I finally went back, relearned the whole thing, and here we are ready to go. Both parts of the tutorial complete and posted to the channel. I also made a niggly little small mistake in the original video that I wanted to correct in this one as well. So without further ado, let's close in here a little bit, learn the first half of Raise My Rent, and then in part 2, which you can find linked down below in the description box, you can finish up learning the second half. So let's get started. All right, Raise My Rent by David Gilmour. Now, before we dig into the solo and we talk about what key and what scale we're using in the solo, we're going to have a quick look at the opening, the little chordal opening. That little section there, the one that I made the mistake on in the other video. I was going up to the D. I don't know where I was hearing that. It's the same chord, but it's got a D in the bass, and I was hitting the D in the bass when I should have been hitting the F sharp in the bass. So that's correct right there. So it starts in E minor. Now we're not using the A string, not yet. So we're just, I've got my middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the D string. So I'm going open E, and then I'm going down to that 2nd fret of the D string. And then up on the open B, open G. Now I'm going to slide that 2nd fret into the 4th fret, into that F sharp note there. And I'm going to place my index finger on the 3rd fret of the B. And just ride up from the, I'm going to slide in, and then ride up from the B, the G, and then back to the D string. Just like that. And he's going to repeat that 12 times, and it takes up about the first 40 or 45 seconds of the instrumental just doing that. And when he does change, he's going to change to A, so he's basically still has his middle finger on that 4th fret of the D, but he's going to drop his pinky onto the 5th fret of the G and his index onto the 3rd fret of the high E string. I don't know exactly what this chord is called. I think it's like A13 add 9 or A9 add 13, something like that, but it's not a chord I'm familiar with. But so that's it, and then you're just going to ride down the strings and right back up again. 3 times. And now the 4th time it transitions back to the original lick we were doing. That right there. But before he does this. So that is hitting the open A and then jumping down to the high E, that 3rd fret on the high E, up to the open B, and then skip up to the D string, which is the 4th fret. And when you hit that D note, you're going to jump your index finger from the 3rd fret of the high E to the 3rd fret of the B. And then you're going to hit the open E, and then just ride up that chord again, but now your index is on the 3rd fret of the B. And then back to this. 4 more times. And then just before the solo proper starts, he's going to move that little chord that we're holding right there, down two places, basically into a C, but we're not using the A string, so we're just hitting the bottom 4 strings. Now I've got my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D, my index on the 1st fret of the B. It's just going to ride on that for a little bit, and that leads into the solo. So that's it. Times, and then you switch to this 3 times. And then back into that 4 times, and then the solo starts. So, speaking of the solo, let's dig into that right now. And so now we're into the solo, and so we are working in the key of E minor, and we're working within the E natural minor scale, and we're all over the neck within this solo because, like I said, it's almost 5 minutes long, and so he's down here at the neck, and he's way up here sometimes, and he spends a lot of time here at the 12th fret position of the E minor, and he's here at the 7th fret position of the E minor. Going to show you in maybe 3 positions here. So here at the 12th fret, which is kind of like position 1. I've got a little bit of delay, some reverb, and a touch of chorus. I'm going to back off on the chorus a little bit because I had a little bit too much here. And I had a bit more chorus on for the opening. So that's the E natural minor. It's 12, 14, 15. Oh, I got a bit of a rattle on that string. I'm trying to raise the action, I guess. 12, 14, 15. 12, 14, 15. 12, 14. 11, 12, 14. 12, 13, 15. 12, 14, 15. That's the E natural minor in that position. At the 7th fret position, starting on the A string, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10. And then your root note right there. Also down here at the neck position. E minor at the neck position, 0, 2, 3, 0, 2, 3, 0, 2, 4, 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. And he also gets way up there as well, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to show you all the scale way up there. So anyway, it starts like a lot of David Gilmour solos starts with a big bend up to the root note, and in this case it's here at the 15th fret of the B string. And that's the first lick. Now, there's a technique that he's using here that he uses a lot, and it's a real feel type of technique, and it's not easy. It's bending notes before you pick them, and when you're bending a note, you can hear by ear when it's getting to pitch, right? And if you overbend it a little, you can always pull it back, or if you don't bend it enough, you can always give it a little bit more. This technique here is bending and then picking. So you got to get it right to pitch, perfect pitch before you pick it. And that's not an easy thing to do, and that's something David Gilmour uses a lot, and he uses it twice right in this little opening. So he starts with a full step bend at 15. And then he's going to go 12, 15, kill the note, bend it, and then bend it up to pitch, and then pick it again. And then he's going to do it again. So, kind of like that. And then he's going to grab the 15th fret of the high E with his pinky right back into another bend at 15 of the B. And I'm not going to add vibrato to every single note I'm playing here, because when I slow things down for demonstration purposes and I try to add vibrato, it just loses all of its effectiveness because I'm playing it so slowly. So, you know, I end up doing vibrato like that, you know, and it kind of loses its effectiveness. But know that any note that is bent up there for any length of time, more than a quarter of a second, he's adding vibrato to it. And, you know, you rarely hear David Gilmour do something like this and just let the note sit there, you know. That's a dead note. There's nothing going on. There's no life to it. So any note that he's bending, he's giving it some nice juicy vibrato. You know, and you want nice even vibrato, you know. You don't want to just get it up there and just shake it willy-nilly. You want nice spacing between the dips. So know that any bend is going to have vibrato. Any note that he's sitting on that's not bent, you know, you're not going to hear David Gilmour do this and just sit on a note like that. You know, he's going to give it some vibrato. So, like I said, I'm not going to be putting vibrato on every note and every bend during this demonstration tutorial, but know that they're there. So, first note, vibrato. That's the opening sequence. Now we're into this. Now we're into the little extension box on the 15/17s. And that's the next little sequence. So it's a double bend very quickly together off the 15 of the B. Right into a step and a half bend at 17 of the B. And again, you know, vibrato. Into this. Up to the 16 of the G, and then back to the 15/17s again. Another step and a half bend with lots of nice shaking going on. One final bend and release it to the natural note at 17. So up to that point. Into this. Cutting a little blues lick. Bending 14, string skipping down to the 12 of the high E, and then pulling off 15 to 12 of the B. Right into another full step bend at 15. Into this. Out of the bend. And then into this. Just all in the 12s and 14s. Into this. Back into another bend at 15. So that whole little sequence there. From the beginning. now we're into this. Down on the 12/15s of the high E. Bend, release. 14. Pre-bend, release. Back to the 14 again. And then into that, pulling off 15 to 12. Back on to the 15 again of the B for a full step bend. And then grabbing the 15 of the high E. Immediately into this. So coming out of this, it goes immediately into that lick. That's the first half. Just a little blues lick, right? Bending 14, riding down the 12s. Pulling off 15 to 12. And finishing with that. Pre-bend. And then rolling on the 14s. So that's that whole lick. Gonna play through one more time, nice and slow. And now we're jumping down into the neck position. Starting on the second of the D. And you're going to open G onto the 2 of the G and hit it twice. And you're going to hit it one more time and give it a full step bend. And you're going to release that bend off to the open, pull it off, up to the 2, and then roll back down and roll back up. Kind of like that. And then we're into this. Sliding into 14 of the A and then just going right down the pentatonic. Finishing on the 14 of the G. And then you're going to hit it again and give it a full step bend. And then we're into this. Now, at this point, the key shifts to A ever so briefly, just while he's playing this lick before it goes back to E again. So he switches to the A natural minor in the 12th fret position. So a little double hit at 13 of the B into a full step bend at 15 of the high E. And he's going to finish on the 13 of the B. But before he continues the lick, he's going to grab the 12th fret of the G before moving on. Finishing with a double hit at 13 of the B, and then he's going to grab the 12 of the G. Into this. So double bend, 13 of the high E, double bend at 15 again, and then releasing it off to 13 of the B. just going to go back into a full step bend there and let it ring out with vibrato. And then 2 pre-bend releases at 14 of the G, and release it off to 12. And that's pretty much the first minute of the solo. So let's run through it up to that point at a nice relaxed pace here, and then we'll tackle the second minute. So this will be the end of part 1. And that finishes part 1. All right, part 2 goes something like this. That's the first lick. We're on the 5s and 7s, sliding into 7 to begin the whole thing of the low E. Double hit there to finish up on the 7 of the A. Into this. So sliding into 9 of the D. Double hit at 7. Little bend release at 7 of the D. And then there's a little hammer on to finish that whole lick from 5 to 7. And then we're into this. Exact same thing, just an octave higher than we just played it. Now we're sliding into 9 of the D. Finishing with a double hit at 9 of the G. Into this. Grabbing 10 of the B. Giving it 3 bend releases. Into this. It's all pretty much pentatonic work here, so. The only little tricky part there was a little slide from 9 to 7 before finishing up. So let's play that whole, the beginning, from the beginning of part 2. And then we're into this. So we're raking down to into the 12th fret of the high E, up to the 15 of the B, and right back to the 12. Then you're going to grab the 15 of the high E and right into a full step bend at 15 of the B. Into this. Raking into 17 of the high E on the 19. Pre-bend, the 19, release, and re-bend. And then just 17, 19, back to 17. And that's that lick. So from here, and that's that little section. And then we're just going to go 15, 17 into a full step bend. And as that bend fades out, as that bend is fading out, we're going to get into that. Little bend at 14 of the G, pre-bend it, release, and then rolling on the 14s. Finishing with this. Double hit at 12, releasing off to 10 of the A. And now we're into this. Something similar to what we played earlier, but 2 strings higher. It's very similar to what we played earlier. So we're starting on the 12, down to the 15 of the B. Double hit to start. And you're going to finish with a triple hit on the 12 of the G. Into this. Just rolling down the 12s of the D and the G onto the 14. Little bend release, and then you release it off to the 13 of the B. And now we're going to start sliding up the B string. Kind of like that. Going from 13 to 15 to 17 to 20. That's that lick right there. One more time. And now we're backing up to a 17 of the B into a step and a half bend. Full step bend, and when you get it up there, you're gonna release it and rebend it, I think 3 times. Kind of like that. Into this. To finish up. With a double hit at 14 of the D. Little slide back from 16 to 14. And finishing on the 14 of the D. And that takes care of the second minute of Raise My Rent. So let's run through the entirety of part 2 before moving on to part 3 in part 2 of this video, because this video is going to be too long if I put it all in one video. So here is part 2. now at this point in the solo, there's a bit of a tonal shift, and it goes into... But we're going to cover that in the second video for this tutorial. So thanks for watching. I certainly hope you found that helpful, and tune in for part 2 if you want to learn the rest of Raise My Rent. Drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that. That would be awfully nice. And we'll see you next time when we look at part 2 of David Gilmour's Raise My Rent.